If you had one shot or one opportunity to seize everything you ever wanted in one moment, would you capture it or just let it slip? Yo. His palms are sweaty, knees weak, arms are heavy. There's vomit on his sweater already. Mom's spaghetti, he's nervous, but on the surface he looks calm and ready to drop bombs. But he keeps on forgetting what he wrote down. The whole crowd goes so loud, he opens his mouth, but the words won't come out. He's choking how? Everybody's choking now. The clock's run out, time's up, over, loud. Snap back to reality. Oh, there goes gravity. Oh, there goes rabbit. He choke. He's so mad, but he won't give up. Daddies, he know he won't have it. He knows his whole back to these ropes. It don't matter, he's dope. He knows that, but he's broke. He's so stacked that he knows when he goes back to this mobile home, that's when it's back to the lab again, yo. This old rhapsody better go back to this moment and hope it don't pass him.
Listen, we can talk about the flag, but let's talk about the team. Wait.
And a very good morning, everybody. Welcome to Trending in the AM right here on DSM Media. Live, as always, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, you know the drill. Like this show, retweet this show, share it out. And if you want to get involved, and if you want to do us a favor, head over to the YouTube page, best place to get interactive with us on today's topics. The YouTube page. Do us a favor if you're watching on YouTube. Hit that like button, smash that subscribe button. Help us continue to grow that YouTube page and that YouTube algorithm. Whatever an algorithm is, we've got to build it. Today, we got a jam-packed show. It's Overreaction Monday. I am your host, Phil Stifle, at Beard and Knowledge on Twitter. We got Jason Voorhees, at Mustang3651, Mark Moscatelli, at Mark with a C, and a bunch of underscores. Got lots to talk about today, gentlemen. We're going to talk Phillies, that 2 out of 3 so far against the Cardinals. A very interesting series so far. I know the series is going on with the wraparound game today, but we're going to talk Phillies. Lots to get into about this Phillies team from this weekend. Some interesting thoughts that I've had from it. We're also going to talk Zack Wheeler getting snubbed, a major snub on that All-Star. I mean, Zack Wheeler's pitching great again this year, not on the All-Star team. Kyle Schwarber, the only All-Star from the Phillies. And then we're going to start talking a little bit about Mount Rushmore sporting events towards the end of the show. I was watching Wimbledon finals Sunday, Novak Djokovic winning it for his 21st major championship. And it got me thinking, Wimbledon's on my top 4 list of places to go to see a sporting event. What are the others? So we're going to get into that. But, gentlemen, good morning. Mark, Jason, how were your weekends, gentlemen?
I worked.
I was in quarantine still.
Yeah.
We don't have anything exciting to tell you.
Yeah, there's no excitement here, guys.
Jason, do you work every weekend? Because that would be brutal.
Yeah, it's retail.
Yeah.
I the only time I have off is like vacations or if I take off.
Yeah, retail's an everyday thing, 7 days.
I don't get much. So, yeah.
All right, well, since you guys had such a boring weekend, let's talk the exciting, boring Phillies. This weekend was a different kind of series so far. They took 2 out of 3 so far against the Cardinals, but they were low-scoring games. 2-0 win on Friday, 1-0 win on Saturday. Yesterday, they lost 4-3. They scored a combined 6 runs. 10 runs between the entire both teams so far. And the Phillies are kind of in a spot all of a sudden where they're starting to gain confidence. They don't just need to win games 14-4, 12-2 to win anymore. They're starting to gain confidence that they can win pitching, low-scoring games. I don't know how much you guys paid attention to Saturday, but the 1 run scored on Saturday was old-school small ball. Get a guy on, get the guy over, excellent bump by Didi, sacrifice fly, guy scores. Oh, we lost Jason there for a second. I don't know what happened there. We'll get him back in as soon as we can. So, Mark, I ask you, did this weekend's 3 games change your opinion at all on the Phillies? Because to me, I start to see a little bit more. Even though we saw less, it made me see a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, it proves that they can win games playing differently. There's Jason again. Like they don't have to win every game 10-8. Like winning 2-0 and 1-0 against the Cardinals team, I think is pretty impressive because they squeaked out the runs to just enough to win, and they pitched really, really well. And the other thing that we've talked about since Rob Thompson took over is that we want him to win series. Like if they win tonight, they're going to win yet another series. And I saw something over the weekend where they're holding tiebreakers against the Padres, the Cardinals, and I forget the third team.
And the Giants, I think.
And the Giants. Okay, so those three teams.
Those three teams we're competing with for that last wild card spot.
Exactly. And that is super, super important. So they are in a really, really good spot heading into All-Star break. I just hope the All-Star break doesn't kind of slow things down for them when they come back, where they feel like they have to restart again and find their way. But listen, I've been impressed since Rob Thompson has taken over, and I'm very impressed on their performance against the Cardinals, a team that is, typically hard to beat and typically one of the best teams in the NL going back a few years now. So I don't have any problems with what they're doing right now. I'm impressed.
Yeah, I mean, they've won now, I believe it. Coming into the Cardinal series, I think I saw it was 8 of their last 10 series they have won. That's why they've gone from – I saw somebody post on Twitter a picture of they're a 76% chance to make the playoffs now, and that takes into account – that's the analytics. That's taking into account who they still have to play, the odds of winning those series, the momentum that they have. It's taken into a lot of different things. But literally, before Rob Thompson took over, they were like a 6% chance to make the playoffs. So that's how much momentum they've gained. But, yeah, I mean, Jason, so the question, as you kind of dipped out there for a second, was did winning these games and even the loss yesterday change your opinion? Because now we're seeing them play a different style of baseball the last couple games. So they don't just have to win with lots of home runs. They can win with small ball because, yeah, Nick Castellanos is still struggling. But outside of him, there's a lot of confidence in that order right now. And to me, when I was watching Saturday's game, the 1-0 win, Jason, even though it was low scoring and there was no runs, that one run that they scored that inning, I forget it was 7th inning or 8th inning that they got that run, I was totally confident that they were going to get that run home. And I haven't had that feeling on the Phillies in a long time. So did you gain any confidence? Did you see anything different, Jason, with what they did this weekend?
I mean, my confidence has actually already been rising steadily with this team. I mean, the more that I see, and I think obviously Rob Thompson was the big difference maker, making the change at manager. But I think you're starting to see a lot of the other, I don't want to say star players, but the role players kind of take their roles. And I say that with an eye on the bullpen, because at the beginning of the year, the bullpen was absolutely awful. Mm-hmm. And we looked at that and we all bitched and we said, this bullpen sucks. It's the same old. And if you look at the bullpen now, you're starting to see, ever since Rob Thompson kind of took Corey Knebel out of the closer role and didn't have a closer per se, that's when the bullpen actually turned around. And it's crazy because you would think okay, well, they need rules. They need a certain setup, man. They need a certain closer. They need this, they need that. But if you look at the way that it's been used, he's been using guys in high leverage situations. So Sir Anthony pretty much gets almost every high leverage situation, whether it's a save or not. He's not necessarily the closer. Obviously, yesterday wasn't a good example because he gave up a run. It's probably his worst performance of the year, honestly, if you look at his numbers. But I think this team, honestly, it's going to go still how far the other guys take them. If Schwarber can continue doing what he's doing, last year it was June and then he got hurt. This year he's he's picked up right where he left off in June and July. If he has another July like he did in June, he's good enough himself to carry this team. It's almost like having Bryce Harper's season last year, where he just constantly just came through after the All-Star break. And then, like I said, you're getting Bryce Harper back and Segura in let's say 6 weeks. I know they said 6 weeks, turnaround, but I'm looking at the longer end. Dude, I think this team is, like I said, 76% chance to make the playoffs. I think you look at the schedules, they probably have the easiest schedule. And if you would have told me before this series that the Phillies would win a 1-0 game and a 2-0 game, and Zack Wheeler and Aaron Nola were not the starters, I would have told you were nuts.
Well, Zack Wheeler was the starter on Friday for the 2-0 game.
Okay.
And then Kyle Gibson. So I want to actually talk about Zack. Yesterday's game, it was a loss. I have one gripe with yesterday's game that I want to get into. And look, I'm still, I still have some gripes with Rob Thompson. I know he's been red hot as a manager. He's turned the fire to Joe Girardi has turned this team around. There's no doubt about it. But I still do have some gripes with how Rob Thompson still playing Odubel Herrera fairly regularly, which is just a stupid thing. And we don't even have to talk about it. I think we've exhausted the topic of Odubel because we all are in agreement that he shouldn't be there. But I still have some gripes with Rob Thompson. So Saturday, Kyle Gibson pitches 7, beautiful shutout. You only get a Kyle Gibson start like Saturday, 1 every 4. He's good for that like once a month because he's still, look, guys, his 7 shutout innings and only lowered his ERA to like 2.54 or 4.54 or something like that. He's a 5th starter at best, Kyle Gibson. Beautiful game. And then he goes and puts Corey Knebel back into the closer role in a 1-0 game in the 9th inning. And I don't know how much you guys saw, but let me tell you something. It got a little. It was
a high wire act. Yeah, it was a little.
It was Mitch Williams Wild Thing-esque. You know what I mean? It was not a good experience. And then yesterday, instead of starting Chris Sanchez, who just started the last time through the rotation, you used him in the 4th and 5th inning instead of the start. You used Nick Nelson in the first 2 innings. And you see Chris Sanchez didn't perform as well as he did the last. Gave up a couple runs there, coming in mid-game. Just little gripes, little things this weekend. So, to me, Rob Thompson still, while he's pushing a lot of the right buttons, he's still also making some mistakes. We're just lucking out that our team is, how do I say this? They're overcoming the mistakes that Rob Thompson's making. So Mark, back to you. Using Corey Knebel on Saturday, was it a mistake? Even though he got the job done eventually.
No, because he got the job done. Listen, man, like I get it. Like you're concerned he makes mistakes. He's 14 games over 500. 14 games over 500 in his first 34 games here. That's pretty damn good for somebody who was not a manager ever before, or at least in the major leagues, and who took over an underperforming team under his mentor. And he's really, like you said, he has pushed all the right buttons. And I think he's trying to be creative and try things. He's trying to give these guys a chance. Like listen, they signed Knebel for some money, and I think they're going to try to make him the closer as best that they can. He's also going to put him in high-pressure situations because come down the stretch, every game is going to be high pressure. He's probably going to want him prepared for games like that. And at the end of the day, these guys are professionals, man. You can't coddle and baby these guys forever, man. You got to throw them out there. As long as they're winning the games, I don't really care what they do, aside from Odubel Herrera, who I do not believe belongs on the – I know we talked about it, but like he –
I still don't understand.
All right, can I ask you guys a question, though?
Yes.
So you think it's Rob Thompson's choice to have Odubel on the roster? No, absolutely not.
No,
I think
on the roster, no. But I think it might be his decision to play him.
Yeah, but who else is he? Honestly, I'm not arguing with you. I hate – that's a strong word. I can't stand Odubel Herrera.
Absolutely.
The reason he's on this roster is not Rob Thompson's fault. That is Dombrowski and that is John Middleton.
Absolutely.
Like, honestly, those guys need to just say, let's get rid of this guy. That's what has to happen.
But earlier in the season, Jason, you could say that Odubel Herrera was our best option in center field. You can no longer say that. Since like June, I forget what the date was. I saw the stat during one of the games. I think it was like June 10th or something like that. He's batting 190.
Yeah, he's not
like he's hitting the ball to deserve it. He obviously makes plenty of blunders.
You don't know that he's not being told play Odubel. You don't know that.
We don't know that. I'm guessing.
And honestly, I look at every other move that Rob Thompson's made, and it's almost been like he's had kind of carte blanche at that. But I have a weird feeling about Odubel that it's not his decision, because I don't think in his right mind he would be making that decision. because he seems to be very plugged in to what's going on in the team, and he seems to be plugged in with what goes on with the fans. Like he did.
I mean, I get that. I totally get that. And what you're basically hinting at is similar to what went on with the Eagles.
The Eagles.
Doug Peterson and Howie Roseman. How Roseman says who's active every game day.
Just have a feeling, and I'm saying that with Odubel, because I think Odubel is a special case because he's a guy that realistically was already here under a microscope, and a lot of people have been questioning since it happened why he came back.
Right. Yeah.
It makes me wonder if it's not just John Middleton saying, well, I gave this guy a chance, I put my neck out, and I'm sticking with that, and I'm the owner, and that's what I want. Because why else would he be here? Why would he even be on the roster? Honestly, he shouldn't be on a major league, probably on a minor league roster.
I get it, Mark.
I don't know. I'm just
Mark, you think it's
sorry, I brought him up. I mean, he's such a
no. I just don't think it's Rob Thompson. That
you're probably right. I mean, did you ever see the movie Moneyball? You know, Billy Bean comes into the dugout and tells Art Howe to play.
I forget who.
The first bat, I forget, Hattiesburg, and they keep clashing over that, and he won't put him in. That those things do happen, but I don't understand why it's happening or perceived to be happening with Odubel Herrera. He doesn't bring anything to the table.
Yeah.
All you're doing is hoping that he has a big hit or a big play, and crossing your fingers that he doesn't foul something up. And more often than not, lately, he's fouling stuff up. So I don't understand why he's getting.
You're alienating the fan base too, because
I would rather put Moniak out there with his glove and let him strike out, let him see major league pitching. At least you could say, "Hey, man, we tried with Moniak; it didn't work out." But you're not even doing that. So
or you put Veerling out there because Veerling's
playing well.
Yeah, I mean, his average doesn't show it, but if the same stat that, Odubel's hitting under 200, that same stretch of time, Veerling's hitting like 290.
Listen, here's where I'm at with this. I think, and Kata had mentioned this in the group chat, and this is where I'm at with center field. I could care less about the offense at the position. I need good defense. And who is your best defensive center fielder right now on the team? It's probably Moniak is your best defensive center fielder. Matt Veerling also plays great defense. So that's who should be playing, those two. Odubel.
Because they would cover up some of the flaws in Schwarber and Castellanos in the outfield, too. They would help cover some of that ground. Odubel doesn't cover that extra ground to help make it
terrible. Easier. I mean, that play last week when he botched it up, it was like
he blew that game. All right, let's move off of Odubel because Big Ed brings up Castellanos in the 3-hole. We've been talking about this lineup construction for a while. It's another one of my gripes. Rob Thompson, why hasn't he thought? I know there's without Harper, without Segura,
put in the 3-hole besides Schwarber.
Well, you're not definitely not doing that. I mean, I brought it up in the group chat yesterday for DSM. The lineup needs to be changed a little bit. Whether it's Bohm moving him back up to the 2-hole. So you could put Hoskins in the 3-hole, whether JT's struggling too. So I don't know if moving him up into the 3-hole is the right move, but you can't keep putting Castellanos in that 3-hole till he gets his head on straight at the plate. I mean, I watched this weekend and there were so many balls that he swung at outside of the strike zone. There's just not even close. He's up there. One of the worst things to do as a batter is just overthink. And he is overthinking things at the plate so badly. That you got to, if you're not going to bench him for a couple games to get his head right, you got to take him out of that high pressure situation, which is the 3-hole. He needs to be down the 5-6 hole, probably the 6-hole, honestly, for the time being, until he gets himself right. And I know who else you're going to put there. Well, you're not doing him any favors, Jason, by leaving him.
He had 2 hits yesterday.
Yeah,
I think
singles. He's getting some singles. He's
got his RBIs too. I think. I get what you're saying, but.
He's not driving the ball. He's not
lost where he was 2 weeks ago. I think he's coming out of the slump, and I think it's one of those things. I agree. He's not producing to the point where you need a guy to produce in the 3-hole. But as I stated earlier, who else are you putting there? Reese Hoskins, actually, I like in the 2-hole because he still walks and he gets on base. I think Castellanos is going to come out of this slump. I think All-Star break will be a perfect timing. It's like reset, get a week off, and then, come back and start mashing the ball. Because he has started hitting. If you look at it, I mean, I'm looking at his –
he's getting base hits.
Look at his game log the last few games.
I've been looking at it.
He went 2-1, 2-1, 1-1, 2. In the only game he went 0 for 4.
Yeah, he had a 7-inning streak there for a little while.
Here's the concern is you sign this guy to hit a few home runs and knock some runs in. His slugging percentage is 100 points off of his career average and 200 points off of last year's average. He's in under 300 an on base percentage. He's not drawing any walks. He's got a negative WAR right now. I mean, that's not good. So you can't bench him because who are you going to play?
You can't bench him. You just can't do that. But you can take the high leverage situations away from him.
I mean, and I agree with that. Putting him like to the 6-hole and let him earn his way back up to the 3-hole.
I don't think. I think they look at it as a business. Once again, I'm not saying that that's coming from up top, but they signed him to a $100 million contract, dude. They're not going to. I think what Rob Thompson's thinking is just he's going to eventually come out of it. We're already to this point. We've come this far with him sucking to pretty much.
I mean, you know what? And I've seen that.
That's Rob Thompson's thinking is that, sooner or later he's gonna come around, and I'm just gonna keep letting him get out of it. And
I think you bring up a good point with the All-Star break. That's his 3-day, 4-day mental break to get it right. That is I think a fair enough point there.
I mean, I think we all want Castellanos to do better and do what he does. But I think it's like it has to be an outlier because he's never had a season this bad where he's been like realistically lost at the plate. And even in seasons where I watched him struggle at the plate, he had a plan. And it just seems like for whatever reason, I don't know if it's just his first season in Philly. Dude, it is a tough city to play in. Like we mentioned how and the funny thing is, it's ironic because we mentioned how Castellanos is such a Philly guy. Like, he has a rough, tough attitude, and he's like Italian, and he's just got that. He's got that vibe that would fit.
Mark, I think he's making a joke about us Italians.
I think he's Cuban. I don't think he's Italian.
The point I'm making is he's
one of us. He comes off as one of us, but he's not performing.
Philly, and he's struggling, and I don't know if it's because it's Philly, but I think it's more so he came here and he got a lot of money. And
I was going to ask you that, Jason, because I bring up the conversation. I don't know if you guys ever heard Alex Rodriguez. It was an interview years ago. It was a pretty open interview where he answered some tough questions, and he was asked why he did steroids the first time, and Alex Rodriguez said, "I signed a $250 million contract. I was 20-something years old, and I started to struggle right off the bat in Texas. And the pressure of the contract was getting to him." Now, Alex Rodriguez's response was, "Let's do steroids," and whatever. We could talk about that. But maybe Nick Castellanos, this is the most money Nick Castellanos has ever seen. This is his first major contract. Could the pressure just be getting to him a little bit? And someone just needs to get in his ear and just say, "Yo, relax, dude. You're here for the next 4 more years. There's no point to stressing yourself out over it."
I mean,
he shouldn't have any pressure.
Players have had, down years. It's not like it's not like this is new. And in baseball, it happens a lot. I've talked about it on how many shows. Like some of these guys are just they go in long-term funks. I remember Mike Schmidt one year. I believe he hit 200 to the All-Star break. And then after the All-Star break, I believe he hit 300 the rest of the way. And his average only went up to 240 because he struggled the whole season. It happens a lot with baseball players. It's not like this is some miraculous thing that's only happening to Castellanos. It happens all over the league. You look at guys I could look at a ton of guys on a ton of rosters right now that aren't performing to where they're supposed to be. But at the end of the year, you'll look at their numbers and you're going to say, oh, wow, they had 27 home runs, 89 RBIs and hit 250. They're at where their career number is. It's how you get there. Not every guy comes into the league and has like wire to wire, 350 with 1,000 OPS. I mean, that's, it doesn't happen all the time.
Mark.
So I guess maybe I'm having more of a patient approach with Castellanos, knowing that this team's still winning despite his struggle. Like if we were losing,
that's the key right there, Jason. They are winning right now, so we can be patient.
Yeah, I guess it would be a bigger deal if we weren't winning, and if we were, and we didn't have Schwarber, and we didn't have the success that we've still had despite those struggles.
Mark, you're going to say something on the pressure part of it.
Hey, I don't listen. Bryce Harper's here. He's the guy that has all the pressure. I mean, Nick can come in here and just play baseball. So it's not like he's the focal point of the offense or defense. Is he struggling? Yes. Does he need to earn his contract? Yes. Does he need to pick it up a little now that Harper is out? Yes. But when Harper comes back, he can just play second fiddle to him. He's got virtually no pressure on him, the way I see it. He does have to perform, don't get me wrong. I mean, at this point in the season, if he can get his on-base percentage over 320, which is he's got to start drawing some more walks. And if he can get his slugging percentage in like the 425 range, and if he can hit 20 homers and 80 RBIs, I think it'll be a nice rebound from the slow start that he had. But he's going to have to tear it up the second half of the season. And that's the other thing too. And I wanted to mention, like, we continue to win with really our two best hitters on the bench. And the one hitter, when he does play, he has a hurt arm. He has a hurt arm. So imagine if you had Rob Thompson's philosophy on how to manage and Segura and Harper in the lineup every day uninjured. This team's in first place. Would you disagree?
Imagine if Rob Thompson had started the season instead of Joe Girardi.
Or even a month sooner.
The only thing I don't like about Rob Thompson, it's pretty clear he dyes his hair and it looks really bad. So he should just let the gray come through. I mean, it is like very, very obvious.
Wow. I see.
These are the things that I notice as a sports fan and a DSM member.
I did not notice that. I did not notice the hair dye, but that's
take a look.
My hair.
I'm gonna look.
Yeah, but you can rock it, Jay. You can rock it. And you're younger than him. When you're 60 years old and you got a full head of black hair, something's up, brother. Something's up.
You could be just a 60-year-old guy that's bald like you, right?
Well, what are you gonna do? Salt and pepper beards are in, my friend.
Yeah, that's right. All right, so Zack Wheeler pitched an excellent game again on Friday night. Another dominating performance. I think his ERA is right around 2.50.
2.4.
2.4. Okay, even better. All-star snub, absolutely correct. He should have. The Phillies at 46-40 today should have more than just Kyle Schwarber on the All-Star game. Is there, any doubt about that, guys? That Kyle Schwarber and Zack Wheeler should be going?
Well, when you say all-star snub, you have to look at the way that the all-star players are picked.
Absolutely.
Let's not forget that the manager of the all-star team is usually the loser of the division, or the loser of the World Series, or the NL and ALCS. So it's the Braves, or it's the Dodgers manager picking the roster. Who got picked over Zack Wheeler?
Yeah, I mean, I got the list of pitchers here. I don't know.
Clayton Kershaw. So look at Clayton Kershaw's numbers. If you look at Zack Wheeler's and Clayton Kershaw's numbers, like next to each other, Zack Wheeler actually has a little bit better numbers. Zack Wheeler's numbers are better than Clayton Kershaw. I can guarantee you that Clayton Kershaw was picked because it's the Dodgers manager. And I've seen this happen a lot. The only other guy that I would have had Wheeler over on out of the whole All-Star thing was Luis Castillo. And the Reds have to have they have that rule that you have to have somebody from one team from the All-Star, and he got picked.
Mhm.
So I think Zack Wheeler, you could call it a snub, but I think it's more a little bit of like a numbers game. Like there was a lot of good pitchers in the National League.
That's I was going to ask you, out of the guys that were picked, who should have gone or who he should have gone over. I don't have the stat. I don't have time to look up all those guys.
Yeah, well, they're the two. They're the two that I looked at, and I said, and as soon as I saw Clayton Kershaw, I remembered that it was because the Braves won the World Series, so the Dodgers manager is picking the
Correct.
roster.
You know, Jason, you bring up a good point. Like, you have to have a Cincinnati Red on there. Kershaw missed 5 starts. He's only pitched 60 innings. He's got 6 wins. Wheeler, on the other hand, he's got a sub 250 ERA. He is in the top 10 in WAR for pitchers, and he is 6th in wins. He has 8 wins. I mean, and he hasn't missed a start this year, if I'm not mistaken.
Well,
so
Kershaw's ERA is the same. That's what I agree with you, Mark. I looked at them, and they're similar, but yet Wheeler's are better. But I'm telling you that's why he was picked.
Yeah,
I'm not saying favoritism.
Well, yeah, you're going to have that. And here's what's going to happen: one of these guys are going to drop out, and you're going to see probably Wheeler on the team, and Nola too. I mean, Nola's 2nd in the league in innings pitched, and his ERA is backward, much better than it has been, and he's been pitching lights out, and he's been an innings eater. So I would advocate for him to be on the squad too. Wheeler and Nola both belong, if you ask me.
Can I make a statement that I'm actually glad that he's not on the All-Star team? Because I hate my starting pitchers going to the All-Star game and not getting that extra little rest and having to go out there, warm up, and pitch 1 inning. And, I mean, you don't really see guys get hurt in the All-Star game per se. But I have no problem with them not pitching in it because there's too much risk versus reward for pitching in an All-Star game.
Well, I mean, they throw in off days, and that the way they build it is who pitches when is basically equates to whatever they're throwing off days. And if they had pitched, I think the day before or something like that, or right before the All-Star break, they're barred from pitching. There's a different rule or something like that there. I don't have a big problem with that. I do like to see our players go. I think it's good recognition. I'm glad that Schwarber made it, even though he's got not a great batting average. He's just mashing the ball. And there's, I mean, he hit another – he hit a home run to dead center. It went at least 450. I mean, it was just a monster shot. But yeah, snubs. I hate when the Phillies are snubbed, and I think Wheeler is a snub. I think you could have squeezed him in there somewhere, and I think he'll be an alternate replacement come the next couple days. So just keep an eye out for that.
Can I interject here?
You can interject.
I
sure.
honestly think that if anyone was a snub, I think Aaron Nola has actually pitched. If you're a guy that believes that ERA is the be-all, end-all of pitchers, yes, Wheeler's better. I think Aaron Nola has actually had the better season. Look at his numbers. Besides ERA, he has a way better whip, 0.93. He's better in strikeouts. He's better in innings. And he's looked more consistent than Wheeler. So I think Aaron Nola has been the better pitcher on the staff. So I would make that argument.
I think there's an argument to be made there. I absolutely do.
And my argument is I'm with Phil. I say, call it a day and give them guys a break. I mean, at the end of the day, does it really matter if you're an all-star? I mean, Bryce Harper got voted in and he's not going to play. I mean, he's an all-star. Yeah, you get bragging rights for it. But
so technically, we have 2 all-stars on our squad. So
yeah, I'm happy with that. But I agree. I think the all-star game, it's the same thing that we say about all these like Hall of Fames and the awards things. It's like
popularity contest.
It's so the way that it's picked is flawed. Like the way that it's designed, because like I said, you have 6 Dodgers that made the all-star team. Now, yes, the Dodgers are a good team, but there's other teams that are good besides the Dodgers. You could argue the Mets have been the best team in the NL this year. And what, they only had 2 all-star? I mean, I don't know. I just think it's flawed.
Yeah, it's definitely flawed. Can I do a little sidebar on the All-Star game? I was just looking at who made the vote, who got voted in, and I don't watch much American League baseball. I don't. You know, they don't play the Phillies very often, and I don't watch. Getting his 9th All-Star selection, I had no idea he was even back to pitching, let alone has a 2.00 ERA at this point. Justin Verlander at 39 years old. That guy, man. I mean, he's a Hall of Fame pitcher that doesn't get enough credit for how good of a pitcher he is, and to come back from Tommy John surgery at this point in his career and still be pitching lights out. I'm just going off the stats I just read right before this show. Damn, a round of applause to Justin Verlander to still being out there and doing it, because he doesn't have to anymore. So
he hasn't pitched essentially in 2 years.
Yeah,
he only pitched in one game in 2020. Didn't pitch last year. He's got 11 wins, a 2 ERA. He's made all his starts. Yeah, man, dude.
I know
39. He has a smoke show wife. He's doing a great job.
He could be home chilling with his wife.
First ballot Hall of Fame.
First ballot, no doubt about it.
Oh yeah, I mean, look at his numbers, career.
Yeah, when I was looking at who made the All-Star team for each roster, and I saw his name, I'm like, how did he get on this? Also, I didn't even know he was pitching. And then I started looking. I was like, damn. I just like to see those kind of. That's the love of the game. Coming back at 39 years old after being injured and not pitching, that's love of the game right there. 100%.
He was one of the hot picks in the beginning of the year for to win the Cy Young, because a lot of people were like going by what his body of work was before the injury, and the fact of the matter is that these injuries and these surgeries are no longer a death sentence. They actually make pitchers better. It's almost like they come back and they can throw harder after the surgery. It's crazy. I mean, you see it with Sir Anthony. I know the Phillies have been like taking it easy on him, and they still don't want him to go. Mm-hmm. But his stuff is nasty. It's back to where it was, if not better. So I think these injuries, but you're right. Justin Verlander does not get the credit.
Not at all.
You don't hear his name. I mean, you hear Clayton Kershaw more than him, but I think overall, Justin Verlander is way better.
Interesting. Real quick, we'll wrap it up. The Phillies talk here. Game 4, the wraparound series tonight. You got Aaron Nola on the mound against Miles Mikolas. We beat him up the last time we played the Cardinals. He gave up 4 runs to us in 5 1/3. He's a really good pitcher. He's struggling as of late, but I mean, he's got a 2.72 ERA on the season. He's just giving up 3, 4, 1, 2, 1. He's giving up runs a lot lately. How do we feel about tonight's game? Can we get a third win against the Cardinals before we head off to Toronto? We don't even know who's heading off to Toronto because there's quite a few unvaxxed guys on the Phillies. So there's quite a few guys that won't be able to make the trip. How do we feel? And I kind of feel like this is a must-win game because I don't know who's going to be playing the next 2 days. So we might not have much of a roster in Toronto. So I kind of feel like today's game, Aaron Nola on the mound. Jason, you say he was snubbed, which I kind of agree with. We need Aaron Nola to come out tonight and be 7 innings, 0-1 runs, lights out, and I think we need to get this win tonight. Mark, what do you think?
Yeah, they need to win every game. I don't think. I think
we're going to lose the rest of the year, according to Mark.
I think what's going to happen is it's going to be another low-scoring game. They got to get some run production for Nola, which they're not doing. Nola's 5 and 6, so they don't. He's been pitching well, but they don't score enough runs, and I think you might see much of the same. I don't think he'll get the loss, but it'll probably be a no decision. Probably be, and I think they'll end up splitting the series with the Cardinals before heading out to Toronto, because I think as a team, everything's going to come out on what players can't go to Toronto. And you're close to the All-Star break, so like you got people that are looking ahead, and I think we're going to swing and miss tonight, unfortunately.
Okay. Jason,
I think Aaron Nola will come out and he's going to I think he goes 7 innings, and I think he get it like 8 or 9 strikeouts, and I think Phillies take it going away to Toronto. I'll call a. I'm gonna call a 5-3 score. I think all these games are close because I think the Cardinals are underrated.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think they're our competition. Like for the wild card, I think they're the team that we have to be most worried about. I know the Brewers are like, they got the better pitching, but I think the Cardinals overall are the dangerous team, and we need to win because, as those numbers showed, if we keep winning against the Cardinals and the Brewers and these other teams, we're going to be at the end of the year when there's a tiebreaker, we're going to be at the top. So we want to keep that. We want to keep that threshold and keep that, our foot on the gas. I'm calling a 5-3 win, and hopefully we don't have too many guys out.
Yeah,
that would be huge if that happens because that's another series that's won. And we've talked about that. I don't see it happening, but
I kind of you kind of convinced me, Mark, that your direction, your theory there, how the game theory plays out. I kind of get it. But you know what's interesting, guys? The Cardinals. Everybody thinks of the Cardinals as a much better team, league wide, than the Phillies. Yet this will be the 8th game against the Cardinals. If we lose tonight, that means we've gone 4-4 in the last 3 weeks against the Cardinals, a team that everybody thinks is much better than us. But yet we've been able to leapfrog them in the standings, and we've been able to split. If we lose, if we win tonight, that's 5-3 in 8 games against a team that everybody thinks is better than us. I think it's time for the league to start putting some respect on the Phillies, if based off of just comparing them to other wild card teams.
Well, they only think that the Cardinals are better than the Phillies because their stars are actually performing. I mean, Arenado and Goldschmidt's having like an MVP of all MVP seasons, and Arenado is Arenado.
Yeah.
So their stars at the plate are actually putting up what they should, whereas the Phillies, are. Let's not forget, like I said, we're missing Harper. I mean, that's what's crazy about this, that we're actually still having success without Harper. It was only 2 weeks ago when that injury went down and everyone was panicked. Well, a lot of people, including myself, when I said the season's over. I mean, I did. It's just Bryce Harper. It's like I don't know. And
Bryce Harper, it's the MVP. All right, that's enough Phillies talk for today.
There's another thing that you didn't hit on about the All-Star game, and I just wanted to make note of it. I didn't know if you guys saw, but it's going to actually be one of the first times ever where 2 brothers start in an All-Star game. Wilson and William Contreras. Contreras is the Cubs catcher. He's starting, and William Contreras got picked to replace Harper since Harper's out. That's pretty cool. I think it's a cool.
You know, it'd be really cool.
First time since the Alomar brothers.
Yeah, I was going to say it'd be really interesting if Aaron Nola could start the game with his brother as the catcher. That would be a pretty cool thing to have happen there. I'm sure they pitched together or played together when they were kids, but that would be really cool there.
Absolutely.
All right. So I want to have a little fun for the rest of this show, guys. We try to bring in a little fun. Yesterday I was watching, I don't know whether either of you guys are tennis fans, but I was watching the Wimbledon finals, Novak Djokovic beating Nick Kyrgios in the finals yesterday at Wimbledon. And it was an excellent finals. I watched almost the entire thing there. And I'm a huge tennis guy. People don't realize that. I actually played tennis in high school. I grew up with Pete Sampras and Andre Agassi. Roger Federer, always thought he was the greatest tennis player of all time. I never thought there was going to be a debate, but now there is a debate because you got Roger, or you got Novak Djokovic and Nadal, Rafael Nadal, who have more major championships than him. But it got me thinking. To me, going to see a finals at Wimbledon is one of the 4 most Mount Rushmore things in my life I would like to do. It would just be the most amazing experience to be sitting in that stadium, watching the finals. And then it got me thinking, what else would be on my Mount Rushmore of sporting events? And it's really hard to come up if you can only pick 4 sporting events that are hard to get to. It's a really hard thing to narrow down to the top 4. Wimbledon finals would definitely be in my final 4. Mark, give me 2 of yours that would be on the must-see dream scenario sporting events that you would want to go to.
Can I mention ones that I've been to already?
You could do that too, yeah. I mean, that's totally not what the question was, but that's okay. Yeah. I give you the questions, and you're changing the answer.
Rowdy Piper. It's awesome.
Right.
The one thing I think is a no-brainer is go to a Super Bowl and be there for Super Bowl week. I tried to go to the Eagles one in Jacksonville, and I also tried to go to the one in Minnesota, and just the cost and the time just didn't work out. I think that being there for Super Bowl week, I think would be pretty cool. That's the one thing that I guess regret not going to is that Eagles Super Bowl. The other one is a pretty easy thing to do, and I haven't done it, and it's been in town. First round of the NCAA tournament, you go there and watch games all day from morning to night. That is, for those that have done it, they say it's a blast. And we've had the opportunity here. Again, just time has not been kind to me to allow that to happen. Those are like the 2 things that I would love to do, and fairly attainable to do. Not so much the Super Bowl anymore, but definitely the first round of the NCAA.
I think the NCAA one, I have no desire to go see a Super Bowl. Honestly, I really don't. Just the crowds, it's not a typical football game. You don't have many actual fans at those games. That would be probably not even in my top 10 list. No. But the NCAA, maybe next time they're in Philly, we'll make it a day. We'll go together. Jason, give me your first 2 on your Mount Rushmore of sporting events to go to.
Well, I mean, I think anybody would be hard pressed to leave this first one off the list, because to me it is the Mount Rushmore of sporting events, and that's the Olympics. I mean,
I've been to the Olympics.
Like, the Olympics are like obviously, huge. I mean, it only happens every 4 years. So that would be definitely make my list. And I think that probably should be on everyone's list, because it's what's
expensive.
Better? What's
I'm
better?
telling you that right now. You think the Super Bowl is expensive. So I was in Greece for the Olympics in 2004, cruise ship, and my ship was in the Mediterranean at the time. And I got to go, like, it was like, people don't realize the 2 weeks at the Olympics actually start a little bit before the lighting of the flame, some early rounds, some smaller things. So I was in Athens for the Olympics. It was like the week before, but the Olympic area, I forget what they call it. It's like a pavilion where everything is set up and all. I walked through it. I tried to get tickets to a badminton event, because that was the event that was going on that day. And they wanted like $200 a ticket just to go see a badminton event. And I didn't. I just stayed in the village, the Olympic Village, walked around, took some pictures, and stuff like that. And just walking around the Olympic Village and seeing so many people from so many countries around the world all together like that. It was quite the experience right there. Quite the experience. I don't know if I could spend $200 to watch a badminton event between like 2 countries I've never even heard of. So I said pass on that one.
Oh, I don't blame you, but I mean, like I said, I just think the experience of it, and it's in and of itself, is like huge. I mean, and you just mentioned it, like the atmosphere is like not. Like,
it was an amazing atmosphere, just in the whole. I mean, I don't know if you guys ever been to Athens, but Athens is one of the most overpopulated, overdensed cities there are in the world. Like it's like take New York City and the amount of people in New York City and put it in Kennett Square. I mean, it's tight. And then you throw the Olympics on top of it. Oh my God, a 5-minute cab ride is going to take you 3 hours, and that's the way it was when I was there. So that's pretty cool. So that the Olympics one. What was your next?
Yeah,
one?
that would be my other one. I'm going Daytona 500 because I love NASCAR.
Okay.
And I'm a big NASCAR guy. I mean, I don't watch it all the time, but I love cars and I love speed. Obviously, I have a Camaro. I like fast cars. So, and to me, Daytona 500 is like the pinnacle of just being there. And I know a lot of people take whole weeks down there and they go and just that atmosphere too. I've never been there, but I have friends that were like hardcore NASCAR guys. and they said it's amazing. It's like going to like an Eagles tailgate, but it's like times 10 every day, like for the whole time you're there. So
I won't lie, it's not in my top 4, and I know nothing about NASCAR, nothing, but it is in my top 6. It's in my honorable mention list to go to any NASCAR event just for the experience. It 100% is.
My buddy is huge in NASCAR, and he goes down to Dover all the time, and he keeps trying to get me down there. I just don't see it. I mean, like, it just cars are going in a circle.
Yeah.
I don't really get it. But when he goes, like, he'll like Jason said, like, he goes to all the different garages and takes pictures with all the vehicles, and the drivers are there, meet and greets and shit like that. So him and his kids go. Like, I don't know much about it. I never got the concept of that sport. It just doesn't attract me. But I'll say this: my brother-in-law went to Baltimore a few years back to see the Grand Prix that was in Baltimore, and he said that was pretty cool. Now, my brother-in-law is a big-time gearhead, so he had a really good time doing that. That would be something that would be interesting. Could you picture like the Grand Prix through Philadelphia?
Well,
Around City Hall and stuff like that?
You guys are like stealing, because I was going to say the Grand Prix on my, going to see it would be really cool, but you got to see it in Monaco. That's got to be the ultimate place. And I was in Monaco, same time frame as the Olympics, when they were setting.
A world traveler.
When it was a couple weeks early. They were setting the streets up for the Grand Prix in Monaco. I went over to the Grand Casino, the original Bond Casino, dropped $50 there. I got to go to Monaco's one of my favorite places I've been around the world. It's a beautiful country. It's super tiny, but beautiful country. And they were setting the streets up for the Grand Prix, and I was like, this would be something pretty cool. I know nothing about racing, like I said, but you just watch the cars zipping by and all that stuff. That'd be really fun.
What about? I'm going to change it up a little because I'm curious to see what you guys have done. What are bucket list sporting events have you done already? Because I've done a few. And have you guys had any really cool experiences doing something?
Not
I mean,
really.
my biggest bucket list, I would probably say, was the NFC Championship against Minnesota. Like, that was just to be in that environment. I mean, to be in that building. I actually had really good seats. I was in the end zone level, but it was the second level, but it was still great. Like, I was right there. Like,
I really haven't seen many bucket list things. I haven't.
No? So now I feel guilty. Like, I've seen Tiger Woods golf up front. He didn't make the cut, but I saw it up front. It was really, really cool. And actually going to a golf tournament is pretty cool too, especially if you have free passes to go into the little clubhouses with free food and drink. Then it's really, really cool.
Yeah, exactly.
I've been to 2 World Series games. I was at games 3 and 5 of the '93 World Series. I got into game 5 with game 4's tickets, and that's a story for another day. It was total fiasco. So I've done that. I got a chance to see the last baseball and last football game ever at the Vet. So closing down a stadium, that was pretty cool.
That's actually on my bucket list. I mean, we're not going to see a stadium close anytime soon in Philly, but one of my bucket list things is to be there for the last game, and also then go to the first game at the new stadium. It's kind of like a pair.
I've also done that. I went to the first game ever at the Link. Was a preseason game against the Patriots, and they were still working the kinks out. They couldn't get the nets up for the kicking the field goals and stuff. And Akers kicked the ball without the net, and it went. It was his pregame warm up, and it went into the stands. And some dude grabbed it and just ran with the ball. So I've done a couple little things, and I'll add this one. My wife's first hockey game that she ever went to as a kid. 87 Stanley Cup Finals. Now, she didn't go to the J.J. Daniel game, whatever like the first home game was. That was her first hockey game that she's ever went to. That's pretty cool, going to go see a Stanley Cup Final game.
Absolutely. All right, so I got a couple here that because I'm struggling to put my list together. Obviously, Wimbledon, that's one on my list. I want to go to a WrestleMania and sit ringside for a WrestleMania. And yes, WrestleMania is a sporting event. It's a spectacle. It's a little bit of everything. I don't care that I don't care about wrestling anymore, but I would like to be ringside for a WrestleMania, the greatest spectacle in sports entertainment there is. Now, you said you saw Tiger Woods.
I did.
I'm debating what golf event is my bucket list because I can't figure it out. Do I want to go to Augusta, Georgia, and see the final round of the Masters, or do I want to go to St. Andrews, the birthplace of golf, where the Open Championship is being played this week, actually, and the most historic golf course in all of golf history, St. Andrews in Scotland, is that it? I mean, Tiger Woods has won 2 Open Championships at St. Andrews. I don't know whether St. Andrews or Augusta, Georgia is my bucket list golf course. I just don't know. I think it's got to be St. Andrews because it's literally 150 plus years old, the golf course. And they changed the game of golf with that course because originally back in like the mid 1800s when golf was just getting started, late 1800s, it was 22 holes, not 18 holes. And then Augusta, Georgia is the first course that trimmed it to 18 holes. And then every golf course around the world was then built based off of the standards that St. Andrews set out for golf. So it's a tough call for me, which one I would rather see, but probably because the Open is happening there this year in this week, I probably would have to say St. Andrews because of the history. Plus, then I can get to go to Scotland and England and everywhere else, and I've never been over there before. So, yeah, they're the 3 on my bucket list right now.
I would definitely do the St. Andrews one. What do you got, Jay?
Well, I'm a baseball guy, and I love home runs. I'd love to see a home run contest live.
That would be a blast.
Aaron and I used to, like, as kids, I remember, like, they used to have the old show where you'd watch, like, Willie Mays against Hank Aaron. So we watched that, and then we started kind of doing the same thing in my backyard where I actually had a pretty big backyard, and then there was, like, at the back of it was the power line. So we used the power line as the home run thing, and we used to, like, count. We would track the number of home runs that we hit. Like, it was that obsessive. And now watching what it's become now, it is a spectacle, and I just would love to be there because just every year.
Is the All-Star game coming to Philly in like 2026?
Yeah, I think I might.
Let's make sure we're at that home run derby then.
I don't know how much money, but I definitely think I should go because it's like every year, if you think about it, you look at it, it just seems like these guys are hitting further and further and further. Like, I remember, like, obviously Alonso a couple years ago, I think he set the record, and every year it seems like the record gets broken. Like, it's just guys going up there and mashing the ball. And that to me in itself, I know it's not a long, it's only like a couple of hours, but just to be there and
baseball wise, my dream is to see a Phillies Cubs game at Wrigley Field. I've never been to Wrigley Field. I've been to Fenway. I've been to Orioles Stadium, Camden Yards. Wrigley's like my go baseball stadium to go see. And I would like to see a random Phillies Cubs game during the day, not at night. Maybe go sit out in the bleachers in the outfield there. And that to me would be the ultimate baseball experience for me.
I agree with you there. I'd love to go to Wrigley, and I haven't been to Fenway. I'd like to go to Fenway.
I would like to go there as an adult because I was a teenager when I went.
I heard, though, both of those stadiums are very overrated.
Yes.
It's just
it's the
still, though, if you're a baseball fan, you probably want to go there.
They're overrated to an extent, but just going to the outfield at Fenway, leaning over, touching the green monster, just you soak in the history. The place has been there for 100+ years. I mean, if you appreciate baseball, the stadium's a piece of crap, but it's about appreciating baseball when you're going to those kind of stadiums.
So that leads.
I got another one. Mark, you mentioned that your wife was at a Stanley Cup game. I would like to be at a Stanley Cup game. Obviously, hopefully the Flyers because that's my team. I was at an Eastern Conference Final game. So I was at the Eastern Conference Final game against New Jersey when Eric Lindros came back. He had been out all playoffs with the concussion. And I was at the game where he came back, and they lost that game. They almost won. He scored a goal with like 10 seconds left, And had they won that, they never would have lost, obviously, Game 7, which is the game where he got taken out by Scott Stevens.
Right.
So that was the biggest hockey game I was at. But just being in that atmosphere in an away stadium as a Flyers fan was huge. And then obviously having Eric Lindros come back in that game, like knowing that maybe he would give us a chance to win that series, we were all obviously hoping. But I would love to be at a Stanley Cup game, and I know they're kind of expensive, but
You only live once.
I think Stanley Cup is on Super Bowl level as far as in-game like energy.
Phil, have you ever
credit for it?
Have you ever been to a hockey game?
Yeah, I've been to a lot of hockey games.
Okay.
So when me and my wife, early in our marriage, her younger sister, huge hockey fan. It was during the Marty Baron era as goalie, because I remember because she was a big fan. She was a field hockey goalie, and she loved Marty Baron, the Flyers goalie. And my father-in-law used to get the tickets through his work, but no one would want to take her to hockey games. So I literally one season, I must have taken her to 15 Flyers games. But we went to, I forget whether it was the Penguins or the Bruins that year, that we went 7 games in the playoffs. I went to every single playoff game in that series, all of them with her. And that was pretty top notch because, like you said, there's nothing like playoff hockey. There isn't. So, yeah, we didn't go to a lot of Flyers games growing up just because it wasn't in our budget as a family, because hockey games have always been the most expensive tickets, really, and hard to get. But, yeah, I've been to some hockey games for sure. I've probably been to the least amount of anything is basketball games.
Me too. My wife, her uncle had season tickets for the longest time. And we used to go to all the Sunday games because nobody would want to go to the Sunday games. So for a span of 5 years or so, we went to every Sunday game that was available. I saw one Flyers playoff game in the 90s against the Sabres, and we were up against the glass. And I'll never forget this. John Muckler, who was the head coach of the Sabres at the time, was walking onto the ice at a pregame or whatnot, and he's walking near the glass, and me and my wife got on the glass and started back because we were right up against the glass in the corner. We started banging the glass, and he startled and kind of slipped a little. So, but being at a hockey game hockey is the best sport to watch in person. That's my opinion. And if it is a competitive game and a hockey game, and you're up against the glass, it's just so awesome to be at. So if you can, even if you can score tickets center ice at the glass, at any game for any team is really, really big. So
I did do one thing that I didn't know was on my bucket list. It'll go down as probably one of the 3 or 4 greatest, most emotional sporting events I ever did. I went to the Sixers tribute for Kobe Bryant, their first home game after he passed away. I went to that game, and let me tell you something. I've never been to a sporting event that was sold out that you could drop a pin and hear it drop. For the first 20, 30 minutes of that game, everybody just sat in dead silence because it was all about the honoring of Kobe Bryant that night. And let me tell you something. There was not a dry eye in that stadium that night. So that probably will go down. It wasn't a bucket list thing because I didn't know it was going to happen. But now looking back, it'll go down on my Mount Rushmore things I've ever gotten to experience. We got to wrap the show up there for the day, guys. Trending in the AM. We'll be back tomorrow. Mark will be on with me tomorrow. We've got Zach Chavalella from the Philadelphia Sports Network and Metro Philly. He's going to be joining us. I think I got that right. Chavalella. I think I pronounced it right. I'm not sure. We'll work on that for tomorrow. He'll be joining us in the first half of the show to talk some Sixers, free agency, the James Harden situation. We'll talk more Phillies. We'll talk more everything tomorrow morning right here. Make sure you hit the like and the subscribe button on YouTube if you're watching this on replay later today. People, please help me out there. Make sure you shoot all of us a follow on Twitter. Mark Moscatelli at Mark with a C. Jason Voorhees at Mustang3651. Myself, Phil Stiefel at Beard and Knowledge. We'll be back tomorrow. And hey, let's ring that bell and get this series win.
Ring the bell.